Hello and welcome to the video. This is a very first look at something brand new from ZOHD. We haven't had anything from ZOHD for a while. This is the new TALON 250G. So it's a baby TALON. Now it actually looks reasonably large in this picture, but if I grab one of their other little 250 gram models, this is the drift. You can see how small this thing actually is. Comparing it with something like their other 250 gram model, which I love. This is the Dart 250. This is probably the baby of the ZOHD 250 family. Now, the full-size Talons, I had one in the very early days from the ex-UAV guys. And I wasn't a fan. I described it as a flying brick. It didn't float for toffee. The smaller versions, and there's been lots and lots, and I still have my blackout edition from ZOHD that I fly regularly. It's evolved and got a lot nicer flying, and actually it suits a slightly smaller size. So I'm fascinated to see how this works. So, enough of me banging on, let me show you the unboxing, go through the specs and talk about how I'm going to set this up. This has only been here a couple of days, haven't had a chance to maiden it yet because we're going to need really calm weather. And that is the only thing you have to really be aware of with these things. They are really cute, fab little flyers, usually. Hopefully this one's going to be the same. But they don't cope with wind in the same way that heavier models do. So let me jump onto the piece of video. Let me show you how it comes unboxed and go through the specs. The box is absolutely tiny. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a plane in here, and the only reason it's as big as it is because the wings is a one-piece wing. Now there's three versions available: the kit without any electronics, the PMP which I have here, which has everything apart from the co-pilot, the stabilizer, and the VC400 for your FPV. And if you get the FPV ready one, those come in the box. So let me go through the specs while I'm doing this. So this is capable of being built at sub 250 grams if you're smart with your choices. The top wing is detachable. It's held in place by a single thumb screw. So you can take that off for easy transport, which is very nice. I'll talk about building it in a moment, but the rear V-tail is glued in. The battery bay at the front is nice and chunky, loads of room for either 2 or 3S LiPo batteries. I'm going to be using it with the ZOHD 3700 lithium ion pack. That's a 2S pack, and that should give me an awful long flight time. I'm expecting the battery on the goggles to be an issue before this runs out of battery. The room inside is nice compared with the other models in the class. You can see that there's room in front of the servos for a flight controller or a stabilizer, and I think that's where the co-pilot would go. So you could squeeze a flight controller in here like I did inside my Dart 250G. Little setup at the front for the little camera, that's the VC400, but I'm going to use a different FPV setup in this. The VC400 is nice, but I would like a camera that performs a little bit better. CG marks are under the main spars, so you know exactly where it needs to balance, and looking in the manual also lists the throws. So a big thumbs up to the team at ZOHD for putting the necessary information in a manual. It's amazing how many things I get in here that don't have that listed. It's made of EPP and does have carbon spars in the key places. A little bit disappointed that the tail is glued in. It would have been nice to have a little magnet or something to keep it in place, but I'm guessing that's all in aid of weight reduction. Straight flat wing on this model, like the current larger Talon that ZOHD sell, and that one does perform and fly very nicely. Two props in the kit, one for 2S and one for 3S. The 2S version is the two-bladed larger prop, and that's the one that I'm going to be using. Loads of texture on the main body, which makes it easy to hold and to throw, because this is definitely going to be one of those things that it's a chucker, and then you're going to belly land it. And the predicted air speeds for this are anything between 18 to 80 kilometers per hour flying speed. On mine, this is a final unit, but it's been hand packed. Just noticed that one of my connectors isn't there, but you can see the carbon spar in the center of the wing. It's not a massive wing here. It's not the biggest wing you've ever seen in your life. It's only 620 millimeters, but that carbon spar in it, as well as the carbon spar that goes through the control rod in the ailerons, makes it really solid. Length is 452 millimeters. The motor at the back is a 1406 2600 kV unit. It's a 30 amp ESC, which is way too big for this kind of model. I think it's only going to be pulling 6-10 amps is my guess. It's got a 5 volt 2 amp BEC in here for these 4.3 gram little servos. The propellers, as I said, is either a 5.5 inch prop for a 2S battery or a 3x5x3 bladed prop for a 3S battery. Putting the thing together is really straightforward. The only tricky thing is figuring out how you put the tail on. You just need to put the control horn over the Z bend at the back and then a couple of drops of glue. I wouldn't go mad, again it's a weight issue, to kind of push them into place, and that will hold them in position. The rest of the setup is exactly as you would expect on a standard V-tail. Now I'm not putting a flight controller in this, I'm going to go full manual for the Maiden. I'm going to put in FPV gear though. Let me talk about the FPV gear that I'm going to be using. And again, by doing this, I can hopefully just squeak it under the 250 gram limit, or if not, I'll be bang on it. First thing I'm going to do is use a Runcam Racer Nano. That's a really small camera. The HGL RC Zeus. I've actually used one of these in anger in a quad recently and was really impressed with the performance. Worked very nicely. And also one of the Speedy B antennas that I looked at last weekend. Those three pieces together only weigh 11 grams, so it's the weight of a servo. And if I'm smart about this, I should be able to get things in a nice position to maintain the central gravity with that 2S lithium ion battery in the nose. That lithium ion battery weighs about 109 grams, so that battery's 109 grams. The FPV equipment's going to be 11 grams with maybe another 1 or 2 grams for cables, and the model itself is 124 grams with the receiver installed too. So let me just show you how everything has gone inside the chassis. This is how it's laid out. So we have the camera at the front, then behind that is the battery. That's a 2S lithium ion battery. Then behind that we have the ESC, and we also have the 4-channel receiver, which is going to be fine for the maiden flight, and against the wall is the little video transmitter with the antenna sticking out the back in between the belly of the model and the rear fin, where it should be out of danger, but pointing down, so I've always got a good view as I'm flying around. Now the exciting thing is, with all of those pieces in, I've made it under 250 grams. So this is possible. Now obviously with the flight controller and other things inside this, that is going to be a much harder target to hit. But if you're flying this without FPV, easy to get under 250 grams. If you do add the FPV stuff like I've done here, you can still sneak it under 250. So I am really looking forward to getting this maiden done. Adding the FPV equipment and the 2S lithium ion battery, the ZOHD one, takes it up to bang on 250 grams. Now if that's what you're really interested in, then that means that if you're smart, you can probably still squeak under 250. Probably the heaviest individual component on the whole thing is the single screw that holds on the wings. Setup is pretty straightforward. There's loads of little neat touches on here. I just can't wait to get out there and fly. So keep your eyes open, stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed. The maiden video will be on the channel as soon as the wind stops. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.